Hello, I'm Bruce Harris.
Yarana, I'm Hina Reed.
Hello, I'm Miguel Mora, and welcome to Check's Play.
Yes. There's back. I heard that amazing voice. There's a
Well, you know, I should have said it's an Aloha Friday, everyone.
It is Friday.
It is.
You know what? Our podcasts are not posted when we do them because they're not live. But yesterday was Cinco de Mayo.
Yes.
It was Cinco de Mayo. And my gosh, what a celebration it was here in Punta Cana. Unbelievable. Everything.
Was there anything fun? I mean, were you doing?
There was a lot of fireworks. They had a little parade, almost like a festival parade in our area in Punta Cana Village. And the dancers, and they had the drums and the timbales going and the costumes. It was amazing. Miguel, I saw you out there.
Yeah, he was doing that salsa.
But it's so weird because, Cinco de Mayo is celebrated everywhere in the world except in Mexico.
I know. Isn't that
it's
something?
true.
Yes,
it's true.
It's true.
Yeah, it's just some sort of battle took place on a Cinco de Mayo. It's not Mexican independence. A lot of people believe Cinco de Mayo is Mexican independence. It's not.
Right.
So it's not a big celebration for them. They have probably some little things here and there, but in the U.S. it's wild.
Yes, it is.
Any excuse to go
party. Any excuse to party.
That's okay with me.
Yeah. It's fine. Yeah.
Hina, on our last podcast, we mentioned that you were in, once again, the post went up after the convention, but you were at NIGA in Anaheim. How was that?
Oh my gosh. You know what? It was an amazing show. Mm-hmm. Although it was small in regards to the space within the convention center, to me, it was very intimate because I could see a lot of the vendors had the ability to have one-on-one and a lot more meetings that I saw were going on. And for me, and for Houston, it was very, very busy.
More focus.
Meetings after meetings. And we had the time and the one-on-one ability to meet with everyone. And to me, it was just amazing. It was an amazing show.
Nice.
The speeches, the speakers and the meetings, from my understanding from some of them that I did not attend, they said it was so informational, especially regarding cashless, solutions, cashless gaming. Where is it going? Is it really, kicking off, right? And then quite a few of it in regards to the indigenous women to help stop the violence. Right. So, and more sustainability for the Native Americans in the casinos. And I'm all for that, being Polynesian and living on an island, when sailors and all of these, discoverers, come and stick their flag in our sand. Right.
Right.
So it was very interesting and very informative, and just loved it. Met a lot of new people who are now soon to be customers and have become my BFFs.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Great. That was awesome. Anything new, Hina, when it comes to technology, aside from the cashless gaming, anything new that we should keep our eyes open for G2E when we go?
Well, some of the new games that I saw during the show, I was very impressed. Very impressed. They are putting a little bit of that kind of that interactive that we were talking about with Michael Darley, some of the little interactive parts of it, and a little bit more action for the casino patrons instead of just going boop, boop. And the table games, there were quite a few new table games from a lot of the vendors that were out there. So I'm very excited for G2E to see what's going to be out on the floors, especially here in Vegas.
Well, perhaps we'll get a chance to speak about those new games, because today on our podcast, we're so excited and fortunate enough to have the director of table games from Rivers Casino in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Now, and some of you may have seen him because he's pretty well known throughout the casino podcast industry. He has a podcast called Be in the Know is Bennie Mancino, and he's going to be here with us today. He's coming in right now, so we get a chance to talk with Bennie Mancino.
Hey, love the picture.
Yeah. The backdrop is cool.
I know. I really like the picture.
Hey, morning. How's everybody?
We're doing great. You said morning. It is morning. We're near time zones. You and I, Miguel and I, and yourself are in the same time zone. We are fortunate enough to have the famous Hina Reed with us today. She's in Las Vegas, Nevada. So it's early morning for her. So thanks for all of you guys getting up today. And Bennie, it's a pleasure to finally meet you. We introduced you as the creator and the landlord of Be in the Know Casino podcast. And I tell you, how long is that podcast? Have you had that podcast now going?
So I started it just before the pandemic, and then I really, when I had all this time on my hands, I really started getting into it, and then other people asked me to join their webinars and seminars, and it just it exploded over the pandemic, and then I slowed down a little bit recently because I took this job in Philadelphia and had to get my feet on the ground here, but. Starting to reach out to a few guests, and I try my podcast a little bit edgy. I don't know, maybe I would consider myself, not quite the Howard Stern of table games, but I'm not afraid to broach any subject and kind of go a little wild. So it may not be for everybody. So I'm very selective on who I ask to be on, and that you've talked to a few people that's been on my show, and they're kind of the crazy guys and the fun
at least
guys.
two, yes. They and it's funny because what you call basically Roger Snow is one. He is who he is, great personality, and Jeff Hall is another, and he is a great friend. But you know how geniuses are. They can slice a few atoms and launch rockets and stuff. So he was always interesting to have on. But now you're in Philadelphia. How you liking Philadelphia?
Well, I love the city. There's a lot of things I like about the city, and when you go Google in Philadelphia, you start seeing crime statistics and all this crazy stuff about how you can't walk on the streets. And you know what? Listen, any major city has a crime, and they have crime areas. Philadelphia does have some issues, some drug problems here, just like any major city, but it's a beautiful city, great parks,
absolutely,
great culture, great sports.
Food
is stupid here. I mean, you could dine at a different high quality restaurant 365. In no way you'll get to the second one the second year around. It just isn't going to happen. And if anybody, if you haven't visited Philadelphia, I think you need need to put it on your bucket list.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was actually supposed to be traveling there today. My family is nearby in South Jersey. In fact, Miguel's got a home right there in Napsec, not far away still. But my family is in Galloway, Pleasantville, in Atlantic City, and I really wanted to go because I wanted some Italian ice. I wanted the
cheesesteaks.
Not the cheesesteaks. Come on.
I don't eat cheese, so unless it's on pizza or macaroni and cheese.
When you come to Rivers, Philadelphia, you'll be lucky enough that we just opened the first Rita's water ice.
I saw it.
Thank you.
I saw it. I love Rita's.
365 days a year, Bruce. So even coming in winter.
I love Rita's.
Yeah.
What's your favorite? Which one is your favorite? Which one is your favorite?
My favorite flavor?
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to experience enough of them. I had they did a special cream, like cherry cream mix they did a special one for them where everybody you would give a donation. And that was pretty tasty. That was pretty tasty.
Oh man. With some ice
cream.
cream.
You should have them cater one of your events because I did that for my employees and they just went bananas over it. It was really good. They did an amazing job for our event.
It's a good organization. Great organization.
So now, since you've been there, have you implemented a lot of changes there, or are you still sort of just looking at and dealing with the low-hanging fruit, as we call it? And
PA as a whole is a whole new experience for any operator. If you've never worked in a jurisdiction like PA, you've got a big surprise coming, because it's a slow moving jurisdiction. There's a lot of regulation. The culture here is kind of different, and I actually came here because Justin Moore is just a great guy, good friend of some friends of mine, and he had told me he had this job opening here, and I had just gotten done with a long-standing tour of duty down in Cincinnati, where I originally taken that job, and I told the people from Jack Entertainment that had the property there, I said, listen, I'm here for 15 months and I'm out. I said, I'm gonna come down and help you get it straight out. And you know how that ends up. And so then I became the corporate vice president for Jack for all their properties. And then Hard Rock bought they bought Cincinnati, Penn bought Greektown. So I was basically out of a job. They asked me to go to Cleveland. I really didn't want to go to Cleveland because I lived in Columbus. It's bad enough driving from Columbus to Cincinnati for 5 years. But now going to Cleveland, that just wasn't going to happen. So I decided to, this Hard Rock wanted me to stay there and help transition that property. And, I got it where it needed to be. And now, after 5 years of driving 90 miles, I thought I'd take a few year break. And then, Justin called me up and said, hey, you interested in this job? I said, well, I don't know if you need me, Justin. I mean, I'm not trying to compliment myself, but I said, I'm like a heart surgeon, maybe you just need a doctor to give you a prescription. I said, I'll fly out there and take a look at the place. And I said, I'll make a decision. And, my decision was that, he needed a little bit more, a few tweaks here. And so I came in. So the property, yes, it had a lot of things that it needed done. We had just had a new competitor open, Philadelphia Live, very strong organization.
Nice property too.
When you're dealing with somebody taking 20% or 15% of your business, you need to reorganize the floor. You need to understand what you need to compete on their level. And they just weren't at that point at that time. And now, we made some good adjustments to the floor. We've did some, upgrades to some of the product we were offering and made some changes in that regard. And I think we're in a really good spot now. And I love to work on things. When you give me a project, I'm in my element. And that this place was a little bit of a project, and now it's really coming together, and some great people here. I mean, I have some fantastic, people who really like people. It's a refreshing. I haven't quite had that feeling since I was at the Hard Rock Las Vegas. Some of the casino areas world has kind of gotten cold, and this is one area it's not cold. People love people. They have parties, and my God, I came in there, and the first week I was there, I had this gigantic cake, welcome Bennie, and all this, and it just blew my mind. So
I saw that. And I think I saw somewhere where you went, maybe you were, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think you were visiting somewhere, or you were someplace in the casino. This was post-COVID, and I think you made a comment. There was a sense of disengagement from the staff to the customers. It was different. It wasn't the same. The engagement was, it was a different feeling.
Las Vegas.
Probably, yeah.
So Las Vegas had the greatest customer. From the 26 years I spent there, Las Vegas had the greatest customer service, and it was all proactive. Before, you pick up your coffee cup and somebody's pouring coffee into it, or
correct.
Or somebody's asking you if you need something well before it happens.
Especially the Fertittas, especially those guys.
Yeah. But when I went out to G2E, this last time, it was all reactive. Hey, can we get another cup of coffee over here, or something? And it blew my mind. It was such a turn in a really short period of time. I guess I felt a little bit of that change coming just before I left Vegas, but man, I was blown away when I went to G2. Let me say, I didn't have one instance of bad service.
You just noticed the difference.
I had a lot of instances of reactive service.
Mhm.
What do you think? What do you think? To what can you attribute that? It could have been the pandemic, that people were off for a long time and took a while to get back into the groove of things, or
Yeah, I think people disconnected from people for, I think all the employers know this. The worst thing you could ever do again is furlough people for 3 months, right? Because they don't want, they get, so the guy who's used to coming in every day and going through his routine, that stops. And it's just like a gambler. If something stops a gambler from coming to your property, it's done. Getting him started back up is a major task. And I think that's kind of what happened to our labor, is that, they just got out of the mode of being that customer service person.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know what, another example of that, if you've ever been in a situation where it gets to a certain point in the evening or early morning, or there's a construction project that's going to happen, or a repair project on the casino floor, and you have to move people. When you ask them to move, hey, listen, we have some tables over here. We have to close these tables because they're going to be changing the ceiling here or whatever. When they get up, they go to the cage.
many of them leave. Yes,
they leave. That's
It's
the
like
same
having
example.
your count time, right? If you have your count time at the wrong time and you break that person and I was like, we're telling them, hey, it's time to go. It's 2 a.m. now. You don't ever have your count at 2 a.m, right? Because you're just telling people, hey, it's time to go home. And it used to amaze me when I would go to a place and they still were counting at 2 o'clock in the morning, because that's just, they don't come back. They're not going to take a break and come back after the count. They're going to leave.
Correct. I noticed when, like, coming here to Punta Cana, it was a total culture change. Not only just, the way we normally did things, not just first of all, there's no hourly employees, no part-time employees, everything's salary. And then I didn't speak the language, So you're talking about challenges that made me dig inside myself to get better at what I do. Plus, understanding the differences. What can you bring that they could benefit from, or what can I take from them to improve the gaming experience totality? And a big part of it was training, just basic training. So when it comes down to when people were furloughed, I don't know if they just rolled them back on the floor, but there's probably a process that could have been missed, but putting people back on the floor to prepare them for that transition. And we learned from that experience now, that, we had a pandemic, we had people furloughed. Now we're rolling them back and deploying them back into the battlefield. We need to go through an initiation or training, orientation. Okay, this is what we can expect, but nobody knew, right? Nobody knew. So do you do a lot of training there, and what kind of training do you do?
I was just going to tell you, I'm just now getting in a mode of where I've gotten most of my material work done. And now I got to do the work on so I started with my core group of managers and started, working and mentoring them up over the last few months while we were still doing the material changes to the property. And now, the B-Man's all about mentoring. So I'll tell you what I got going on now. So just starting this week, I took on 12 mentees where I give them an hour of my time a week for the 12-week period. And I run a course called Masters in Table Games Management. About 2 or 3 months ago, I did Masters of Supervision, which is a course I do for the supervisors. But Masters of Table Games Management is a little bit more intense, and I'm mentoring somebody to take my job at some point in time. Right.
There you go.
And then, in a few weeks, I'm doing a customer service review called Star of the Show, which I think, like you said, that should have been something that everybody did when they reopened the doors, because it's just like it went out of everybody's brain during that 3 months. And Star of the Show, it's basically 15 elements of excellent customer service, and telling them, the dealers, what it really means and how important it is to them. See, a lot of times dealers forget that, they think, well, you guys are making all the revenue. When we make revenue, you make revenue. If you pick up the pace of the game, we make more revenue, but you make more toke money. And sometimes they just, they disassociate the two, and the two go hand in hand. Anybody that tells you that table games revenue and tokes don't go hand in hand is crazy, right? So start of the show will be something I'll be doing and I'm very excited about. So because what I do for a whole week long, I dress up in a dealer uniform, apron and everything, and I go in and present this 15 essential skills of a good customer service person. So
fantastic. Yeah, I'm still a dealer. Right now I just have different duties and responsibilities. Actually, I'm nothing right now.
But we enjoy dealing most of the time. I remember I worked in many places where at least on New Year's Eve, all the executives would come down and we will jump in at a table. We did it in Atlantic City. I still do it wherever I am. I get into a table for at least a couple of hands, and it is fun. People enjoy seeing you doing something they've never seen you do, and the employees are surprised that you still can do it, because they think, oh, this guy's been up the games for many years. He can't deal a blackjack hand, and you surprise them and says, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Walk in your shoes is something that everybody should do if they have the opportunity in their jurisdiction. I haven't broached that here with Pennsylvania, but I kind of think they might say no. They've got a couple rules on, levels that can, jump in and deal. And I don't know if they would actually go for that. But one thing I do is the one I kept and could find, I got my apron and my name tag from when I worked at Silver City, the only smokeless casino in Las Vegas. And it's hanging in my office, and I leave it there so I never forget, where I came from.
Well, you can always have a table down in the break room, and then with some chips down there, and just go ahead and have some fun, have some in-house tournaments, and you could be the dealer. Something like that.
That's one thing I kind of wanted to segue into, because I usually ask this question. Back in the day when I was, working at Caesars, I would always tell my employees, I said, we have the exact same thing as everybody else on the strip. We have the same games, we have the same slots, we have the same tables, we have restaurants, we have food, we have food courts, we have shopping, we have retail. But what they do not have, that we have the competitive advantage, is you. You are what separates us from our competitors. So with that, what made you one day wake up and say, I'm going to go be a dealer, I'm going to go work into a casino? What made you just wake up one day and say, I'm going to go work in a casino? Well,
mine was kind of a forced move into the casino world. I was training racehorses. I was quite successful, and this was early 80s, around there, and my main owner died of cancer. So I had a stable of 22 horses, and it instantly just went right down to 4 horses. And at that point in time, the economy was kind of in the dumper. That's before the Clinton era. And there was no going back and rebuilding that kind of, and to go from the top to the bottom in a few days. And me and this owner were so close, and I had to watch him die a horrible death at the time. And I was mentally kind of out of it. And by chance, I had one horse with one owner who run casino nights, and I don't know. I think some of them were legal and the other ones were not quite, we did some in churches. So I think they were okay, So anyway, he made a deal with me. If he give me his horse, when I had time, I would learn to deal, and I part-time dealt for him, on the weekends. And it was just a gig here and there. But when my main operation come to a screeching halt, I'm mentally out of horses, and now the only other thing I know is this little bit of dealing, and it was all cash dealing. It wasn't chips or anything like that. So, I told my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife of almost 28 years, that I said, hey, I'm going to Las Vegas. I'm going to do it for real. I said, we'll give it a shot. So I went out there, and they were building another racetrack in outside of Riverside. And I said, well, you know what? I'm going to try this deal and gig for just 1 year and try to get my head back together. And if that doesn't work out, I'll I'll go to Riverside and start a new career, a new stable out in Riverside. Well, of course, that thing's still a cabbage patch or whatever it was. It never did come to reality. And I waited like 26 years in Las Vegas for the track to come on board, but it never did. So that's how it all happened. You know,
convenient.
Like everybody else, I went to school, learned to deal with chips, and next thing you know, here I am.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now you weren't in that area because we spoke before we started the podcast about we almost kind of crossed the same paths. But I opened up Caesar's City of Rome right there in Louisville, and had the school in Corydon, Indiana for Caesar's, and then we opened up there right across the river, in Louisville, Kentucky. So that was right down from the Derby. So that was my indoctrination into that area, and I loved that area. Then soon after that, went to MGM in Detroit. But it was one of those things, if you just, it's like get in that. We said this on the podcast with Ready App. Get in the car, smell the leather, and smell that. Get the comfort of holding that steering wheel. Once you hold that steering wheel and it gets up in you, that's it.
You're in.
Yeah, you're in.
It just sucks you right in.
And then if you're a dice dealer,
it just brings you right back in.
And then if you become a dice dealer, oh, you're God. And that was another point we discussed. A lot of the leaders in the industry were dice dealers.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the big leaders were dice dealers. Now, another thing, Benny, that like I noticed that you guys are advertising for positions in table games again, down to as well dealers. I think I saw dealers as well. Now, is that still a main challenge to retain or to get people recruited?
Labor is still extremely challenging.
That's not just a casino thing. That's a national thing.
Yeah, it's everywhere, and it's every department. At first, they came to you and said, "Well, what's going on in your department? Why can't you keep any? What?" And now it's the cage, and now it's this, and now it's that. Yeah. It's everywhere, and people, like I said, the worst thing you can do is stop that. That pattern, that normal, the habit of getting up every morning and going to work. And then, so people who have been on the outside come back in, they work a couple of weeks and like, you know what, this just isn't for me. I got to go work for Uber. I got to go work for Amazon. I got to make my own schedule. I can't be in a pattern. I can't do this no more where I'm stuck in a systematic thing where, I got to get up at 9. I got to be there by 11. I can't do that no more. And it's a different world we live in. And I think as far as talent, once you get somebody inside who wants to learn and wants to move up, I think that's going to be, we have to grow our own crops, from the people who do want to come in every day. And not worry about so much about, trying to pluck or steal somebody from somebody else and just grow our own talent. Yeah.
I think it's all that is happening now in society, mainly in the US, all these changes have impacted all those things. I mean, I just saw, like, for instance, I read something that there are some Apple employees who are suing Apple because they don't want to come back to work. They want to still work from home.
And I was just telling somebody the other day, Apple built, jobs before he was passing the Sphere or whatever that thing is called, that gigantic building that they built. And if he only knew 5 years down the line, he could probably work 80% of his staff from home and would have never had to put in that $7 billion into that building. They just don't want to live that life anymore. And, pandemic, scared people, right? They realized, one thing is, it's funny about anybody, it's, older, the first time you lose a parent, what a life-changing experience is. So you realize your mortality, that life doesn't, up to that point, you thought life would, you're invincible. Life goes on forever, right? So at that point in time, you realize that it doesn't go on forever. And I think the pandemic and all the death and the craziness that was going on during that period of time made people not, it wasn't like their parent died, but I mean, unfortunately, some of them that was the case, but people said, oh my God, wait a minute, time does stop. So I need to live it as much to the full right now. And that's what we're seeing. And it just now we get to a little bit of relief to where we got the medications and stuff to handle this pandemic through its end. And then this crazy Ukrainian war starts and people see the death and destruction in there. And again, they say, oh my God, any day, Putin could push the button and we're all gone. So why am I going to waste my time on a 9-to-5 job?
True.
Do you feel that there is an age difference where the older, or what I call the baby boomers, the young at heart, are the ones who are more dependable? Or do you feel that, our millennials and the ones that are younger are more dependable? Or do you just see it's even? It evens out.
It's definitely the people, the baby boomers are more, in touch with the, I still got to come to work. I still got to do things, life, they can't really wrap their heads around this new age. But listen, I was fortunate enough that God blessed me with a child late in life. We were told it was 100,000 one of us ever having a child. I got a 16-year-old. And you're talking about somebody who has no perception of the way I look at life, so I would say the people who are a little bit more stable and can handle all these changes are, the baby boomer age.
Yeah. I just saw a statistic that for the first quarter, March, there was 4.5 million people quit their jobs in the U.S. in the month of March. And there's 11.5 million jobs now available, right? And then there was another 461,000 new jobs, added to the market in the first quarter, a 5.6% increase in salaries, and wages and so forth. But, it's once again, people want to be able to work from home and things like that. So I understand change. That's just part of change. And I'm okay with, the baby boomers were this way and millennials are this way. That's part of change. Technology makes jobs so much easier than the way it used to be. And there's no stopping of the technology.
So speaking of technology, the games and the things that are changing with table games, especially, you have your cashless, but you have different types of games. Because I saw some of the new games that were coming out from some of the vendors during the Indian Gaming Convention show that was held in Anaheim just recently. I'm very excited for GTE to see some of these new games hit the floor. What do you think about the change in some of the way that the games are coming along?
Well, pre-pandemic, table games was going nuts. It was taken over from a period where slots were the king, right?
Right.
You had properties like National Harbor that were doing, over 60% of their revenue in table games.
Yeah.
And to the point where, these new openings in Boston, they were thinking, oh, maybe we need to rethink our floor. They take a whole section of slots out and added another pit, and I think at that point in time, pre-pandemic, we were so connected as a world. You can't get away from it. You got the smartphone, your cell phone, your chat meetings, all this stuff. You're just constantly connected to a device that when people got out and got a chance to have a night of personal entertainment, the younger generation especially, they wanted to have community. They wanted to have interaction with real people. And that's table games offered that, right? It offered them a chance to still be connected and still be in a community with their friends, but yet not be connected to the device. And it was exciting time, I thought. And like I said, this pandemic put a big monkey wrench into that growth that we were seeing in table games. But I think you're right. There's some very innovative people out there, smart people. We talked about all these smart people like the Wizard of Oz. And there's just a number of people out there that's just innovative and coming up with ways of kind of crossing the two together, a little bit of electronics, a little bit of table games. I think you started to see that at the G2E when, what was that, side games
like stadium gaming and things like that.
Stadium gaming. And then side games had that progressive, what was that, 88 Fortunes, where you could play that. Along with playing your regular Baccarat game, you're playing this electronic progressive, at the same time. And I think, we're going to see that, guys like Roger Snow, they're just their mind thinks like, it's like a computer. So they'll come up with some crazy stuff, and it'll work. It'll stick.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, we were discussing also another change that's coming, and I noticed it article that you had posted, and I read it about the introduction now to metal detectors into the casino market, to eliminate the possibility of guns coming into casinos, which was always there, especially in Nevada, where you can and you can't. You can have a weapon and you can't, because you can actually have a concealed weapon. It's up to the casino basically, and in their policies, whether you have to check them in with security when you enter, or do you have a permit and they allow you to wear it. And but now I saw where now your properties. Was it you with the gaming the Gaming Regulatory Commission says now that you're going to have your metal detectors now in your properties?
Well, we decided to install metal detectors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and that was a choice based on we live in our casino is an urban casino, and we did have some people who had some security concerns, and we thought this is our main issue. We need to address these, because we had very few incidents. But like I said, when it was just a perception, right? Several miles away from us is some pretty sensitive areas, let's put it that way. But right there, we're real close to Chinatown and everything. We had to make our guests feel secure. So we installed the metal detectors, which I think are long overdue. Anybody who don't think that people come through the casino doors with weapons every day is kidding themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that happens. And anywhere you go for entertainment nowadays, if you go to a concert, if you go to a show, they're going to
they wind you down.
Baseball, baseball field, you're going to go to a metal detector. Why not casinos? Because I think a lot of casinos felt that it would dent their revenue, right?
Mm-hmm.
That there was people who did come through with them kind of things that had money. But let me tell you what, the bad guys who come through the door are a bad player, right? When you take a bad high-end guest and you think he's worth the revenue's worth the kind of stuff he's going to put you through, it never works out. You guys all know that. A bad customer is a bad customer, and sooner or later it comes back to be cost you more than what the customer is worth. So I think we're going to be the leader of the pack on this, Bruce. I think all casinos within probably the next 5 years will have metal detectors, just like any other entertainment venue. I know when I go to an entertainment venue, I don't want to worry about somebody pulling a gun. And casinos are emotionally packed places anyway, right? And they say the decision, you make it in the first 11 seconds, you make a decision to fight or flight.